kaput. So I suppose, there were a lot of young people there. My nose gets itchy when I get on air. I don't know why. I think it's nerves. I do. I think it's a little bit of anxiety. Um, I think I'll tell you what surprised me was the number of young men, young women that were there, teenagers, into their 20s, and they were all
Hmm.
monarchists. And
Hmm.
that excited me because there were a lot of people, from a variety of ages. It wasn't just all a bunch of old pensioners turning out. So,
Hmm. Hmm.
Francis, I've got to tell you, I'm just so thrilled. I'm thrilled, thrilled with that because, this conversation, and I want to actually explore something with you about this conversation because I can't believe the way the British media have really egged this up.
Hmm.
Like the Australians were paying it no mind, but the
Hmm.
British media couldn't couldn't stop talking about maybe it is time for a republic. No, we know it's generationally it's dead. It's dead now. Like the professors, all of the elitists that have this discussion, we're all saying, well, it will eventually happen, but not in 100 years. It'll be a couple of 100 years now. That's it,
Hmm.
because there's
Hmm.
nothing there. There's nothing to hold up that debate. So,
Hmm. Hmm.
but the British media really got me. I'm so shocked at the British media going on and on and on about a republic. Maybe it's time. Maybe Australia needs to grow up. No, you know what it is? I'll tell you what it is. Australia, the elites underestimate the Australians. They think that, we're just a backwater. Australian voters, they're pretty quiet about stuff, right? But
Hmm.
they're looking across the globe and they're seeing republics, they're seeing other governments and other institutional um, leadership, political leadership fall. So they've
Hmm.
decided to stay with what we've got.
Hmm.
Wonderful,
It's
absolutely wonderful.
not, don't worry, it's not gonna happen anytime soon. Not at all. I tell you what, the Australians love the system in place right now. They like the British monarchy. They think it unites them, it unites the Commonwealth, and there is so much that the Australian government is benefiting from this union. It, it is it offers what is called this sort of calm environment as opposed to the mainstream politics. So, and you know how much people don't trust politicians anymore. So, you will be so surprised if a referendum was passed of some sort, how many Australians would vote to stay in the Commonwealth. They will be so many. And the same applies to New Zealand, to Canada. These countries really, really love the Commonwealth. And you can see how they treated King Charles. You know, he's not had the best of records. King Charles hasn't. But the sort of treatment he received on that visit is very telling of a Commonwealth that really accepts a monarch in whatever way, shape, or form they come in, as long as there is that system in place of a monarchy. So don't worry.
I'm
We
not,
still,
and
yeah.
I tell
Hi,
you,
Chantel.
I'm not worried at all. Chantel
Yeah.
is in Australia. She knows what I'm talking about. The Republic
Yes.
movement is kaput. You see, earlier in the year, they lost one of their leaders, Nova Perez.
Mm,
And, there is the disunity, house divided falls. We know that, but it's over. It really
mm,
is over. And Chantel asked a question, I think, about a week or two ago about who started it. I actually went back and had a look. It was Thomas Keneally, the author, Thomas Keneally, that kicked it off. He was the
mm,
very, very, very first one. Then all the politicians just fell in behind that because they felt it would be in their interest to do so. And who knows, maybe I will be the next head of state. So it was all very
mm,
self-serving. But
mm,
I was a bit surprised. I'm not surprised with given Thomas Keneally's reputation, but I'm a bit surprised I missed that because I've been following this on and off for years, you know.
mm,
So it's over, it's done, it's kaput, you know. Oh, and they loved the king. I was so taken back. You rightly point out his track record hasn't always been stellar,
mm,
but I think that was twofold. I think he is politically oriented, but
mm,
it's also, I think, over the years, he was waiting so long to become the monarch that he was seeking to carve out a role for himself that,
mm,
look at what it's done, hasn't really done him any favors.
It
But
hasn't.
the Australians love him. They
They
love
still
him.
do. They still do. And we saw this with our open eyes. The number of people who turned up on those streets to cheer up on him. And, his wife, Camilla, and how they were, welcomed. And you could see Camilla traveling to the school, to that school where they went, and how she was welcomed by the school children. And what is the tradition of, what was that? She was given all these medals and jewelry and stuff she was being dressed up in. And you could
It
see
was
her,
beautiful.
bless
Yeah.
her. Camilla is not used to being in environments like this. So you could see how she was trying to fit in, but she was really, really warmly welcomed. So I think Australians, just like all these other Commonwealth countries, know the benefits of having a monarchy in place. And one of the biggest reasons, or the most popular reasons as to why we, including myself, prefer this mode of government is because of the stability it brings in place. You're having all these Republican leaders, presidents voted in and out every after 4 5 years, and every time they vote them out, they go with their own policies, and then we see these new governments coming in with the new policies. Some are very horrible and all of that. So you can see that with a monarchy in place as the head of state, there is that stability that is always going to be there. So, no chance. I don't see Australians voting a Republican government anytime soon. No
Well,
chance.
I think what worked in the king's favor is he's had time to settle into his role as a king. So the public, the British public, as well as the realms, in this case we're speaking about Australia, have had time to establish, you know, whether they like his performance, whether they find his performance up to par or not. And I think that he has generally, you know, 85, 90% like stayed out publicly anyway. Who knows what
Mm,
goes on behind the scenes, but he's publicly uh, established a reputation for himself as a monarch. And who knew we were going, because I was found Charles aloof, which is what that he never endeared himself to me because I always saw him as aloof and a bit stuffy. And I mean, I know I'm British, but you know, I'm not a stuffy type and I'm not a snob, you know. But I would, that's what I found about him personally. But as a monarch, look at the way he's accepting hugs and look at the way people he's responding. He's taking up the love. He's mopping it up, you know, he's mopping his brow with it, you know. He's just people expressions of affection are being welcomed by this monarch, and people see that, and that's why the Australians love him because they can see he's thought out, if that's the way to put it. It's really
mm,
beautiful. It's
mm.
really lovely. And as I said, you know, as I said in my first live, you know, I had a live, my first live last week, girls and boys. But, you
Yes.
know, as I said, I was never a big fan. I didn't hate him, but I was quite resistant to him. And no, I'm so surprised. Australians, Francis, Australians love him.
Oh, they do, and you showed us. Hi, Stedman. Good to see you in the room. Stedman saw you first
I know.
live.
Hi,
She was
Stedman. I
there. Hi.
know.
And Chantel Martin actually saw it as well, I think.
I know. I
So
know.
the
The
A
girls,
team,
I'm
they
going to
are
send you
so
one of my bags.
fabulous. Yes, the A team are starting to come in. Hi, Free Speech. And Free Speech says that they already miss King Charles's presence in Australia.
Yep.
Okay, so
Yep.
that is so great, and I think, like you said, Catherine, you were 100% right that the king and queen showed a different perspective to what people thought about royals. Okay, so the opening up of that love, affection, and the hugs and the selfies, because protocol we thought was forbidding people coming that close to the king. It was forbidding taking of selfies with the king. Any activity that would have been deemed as security risk
Yes.
was
Yes.
kept a distance away from these royals. But we saw King Charles and Camilla breaking away from that protocol for once in how many years? So many years. And that is very telling of a monarchy that has opened up to people, that has welcomed more transparency, affection, and love, and that it has told people out there nowadays that, we are rolling with modern times. We are all equals. We are the same. Why not have that selfie, when other people can have it and be like in a normal sort of, meet up with people. So it was great to see King Charles, do that.
Well, Arthur Edwards makes this point regularly. That, and he's the royal photographer that works for the Sun, and it's become quite a legend. He says he'll always give you the shot. And um, my favorite day was the church. I came out three times. I came out for the Opera House sales, and I've got that on my channel. And
Hmm.
I came out for the church service on Sunday because that was in my general vicinity. And that to me was a very meaningful way to kick off the royal tour with the church service. And then I came out for the Opera House, and I was there all day. I was there since early until um, left about 5:30, something like that. So I came out for three events. But getting back to what Arthur Edwards said, he said the king will always give you the shot, or the Prince of Wales. I've got them on.
Yeah, yeah. So Catherine, I think, has dropped off. It's the signal. Let's see if we can bring her back on stage. Catherine, are you there? Is your sound, Catherine, or it's mine? Okay. Is your sound on, Catherine, or is it mine? Our friends, tell us in the comments if you are hearing Catherine's sound. I can't hear her. I don't know if it's mine. Okay, let's see. Is it me who muted her here, or right? Someone type in the comments there. Tell Catherine her sound is not on.
How's that? How's that?
So you're back on now. You're back
Oh,
on. Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
I found an unmute button. I don't know.
yeah, yes. I
And
think
I'm still learning. So I'll get back to the king. This was the
yes.
highlight for me. This was at the church. So it
Hmm.
was very meaningful kicking off for the church service. I was second from the barrier. I was the second row back, but he could see me and I was standing next to a really tall guy, Linton, his name is, and he was wearing that British jacket.
Hmm.
He looked at me and he put his hand up and waved, and he
Okay.
allowed me to take the photo.
Okay. Wow, that's really good. That's really,
Oh,
really good because you worked so hard, incredibly hard to get yourself to those good spots, you know, and you
I
bulldozed your
couldn't get
way.
over it. He
Oh,
went like this. He
yeah.
looked up at there on my page. Just go back a few posts. But I
Yes.
put a really big, oh, it's so ugly, but I put a big um, copyright sign on it because
I
it's
saw
my
King Chat.
shot.
It's your
It's
shot.
my
Yes, yes, see
shot. You
one.
can't
Yes.
have it. You
And it's
can't
gonna
have it.
sleep. It's gonna be there for years and years. I'm telling you, you are incredibly lucky, Catherine. How many people would like to be in that particular spot you were in? You
He gave
know.
it to me. He actually went, and I went, oh,
Yes, there you were.
I feel like playing the Rocky music,
And
you
your
know.
trick worked, yeah, because you had
Oh,
these two
yeah.
flags, didn't you? The
I
pom
did.
poms, the two flags, and you,
I had
yeah,
my British flag and my Australian flag. And I
okay,
did. I'm going like this. And then when he went like that,
yes.
I got my camera and just went. And I couldn't see. I couldn't see because the sun was so bright. But
Sharp,
I
yes.
got the shot. And Arthur Edwards says this about Charles, about the Prince of Wales and about the King. He always gives you the shot. And he gave
Yes.
it to me. He
He
gave
did.
me the shot.
Free speech says here that he posed for you. It was
He
more like
did.
it.
He
Yes,
did.
yes,
And you know, on ITV, I on a couple of channels, I've left a comment. I was there. I shook the Queen's hand. I got a photo. La la la. But on ITV, and I did it deliberately because it was a Chris Ship report, and he's a bit of an odd character. They'll just be polite, but I don't know how he's on the royal rota because sometimes he just doesn't sound in support of the royals. But a,
familiar.
but a couple of people said, oh, because I said, oh, I did this and I got that and I was so excited, blah, blah.
Yes.
And someone goes to me, oh, you're so pathetic. And I just said, oh, well, thank you very much for your thought-provoking comment. But I did it deliberately because I knew on that report that people who are not in favor of the monarchy would come out and blah blah blah,
Okay,
yuckety yuckety
yes,
yuck.
exactly. And Aspi RN here says, um, I loved when Catherine was on the TV interview. You grabbed that interview and you nailed it. I could see you were speaking from a position of authority, love, compassion. You held our flag there. And just as you're being asked those questions, I was here, sort of, oh, burning with responses. And you just literally answered the same way I would have. Well, well done. That interview was fantastic.
Well, a lot of people at the Opera House, I mean, they all said, "Oh, hello, I saw you on the interview. Well done." And I thought, well, people are still watching TV.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I've had a few friends who, you know what it's like with your friends. You have regular contact with each other, but it's not like family where it's weekly check-ins or something like that. And my friends have come in and said, "Oh, I saw your last two lives," and I went, "Stop following me, go away!" And they just
Yes.
laughed. They laughed, and I had brunch with one of them yesterday, and he just can't. He said, "Oh, it's fabulous." He knows me really well, and he said, "Look, I'm just really happy that you're in your joy." And he said, "You responded so well when you were in front of the colonizers because, he's an artist and he's a little bit more to the left than I am, but he's quite conservative, still the same." And
Hmm.
he said, "I like the way you can see their point of view as well. But you said, yeah, but, I have a right to be here too." And I said, "Of course." I said,
Hmm.
"We all do. We're all immigrants." And I might be British, but I'm an immigrant, but
Mm,
it's been weaponized against me most of my life because I grew up with Aboriginals, in Victoria. I did,
mm,
and I'm tired of it. I'm just, just talk to me. Stop hitting me over the head because I'm white and British.
mm, mm.
I didn't do it. I didn't do it. I'm sorry.
But that interview was fantastic, fabulous. It was more like you had rehearsed it, and
No, I didn't.
you're very articulate. You you were very natural, and you couldn't have done any better than you did. And with the question of Meghan and Harry, and how you clearly pointed that out, that whatever they were doing against a family that loved them so much was despicable, and that this love that Australians are showing to the king in that moment in time was a sign that many people across the globe did not buy into Meghan and Harry's narratives. That was really, really wonderful, Catherine. Wonderful.
Well, it's look, there's a lot of rumors and there's a lot of conversation around those rumors that are flying around. And everyone's got an opinion, myself included, you included, and your A team. We all have an opinion, okay? But Americans have hunkered down on Meghan, and I think I've got a sense. I've got a sense it's in order to give Harry an escape hatch,
Mm,
because they see him as a prisoner of that marriage.
mm,
But Harry enabled it. Harry went with it. Harry, I heard someone say, Andrew Loney, the author, on another channel, he said they were Bonnie and Clyde together. I
mm.
thought, oh, what a fabulous way to put it.
I'll put it, yes.
They were Bonnie and Clyde together. So Harry's got a long way to come if he thinks he's going to be. If the royal family, oh, this is, I don't know who's listening, I don't care. This is it. If the royal family think
Yes.
they're going to be able to rehabilitate Harry without him getting down on his knees and kissing his father's feet, metaphorically speaking, if he can't apologize and publicly do so, that's going to hurt the royal family if they think they can bring him back in. And I doubt William ever will fully. He'll allow him on the periphery. It'll be like out in the back shed. But the royal family will hurt themselves if they believe the public are not with this. The
Yeah.
public are not on board with rehabilitating him without him first.
Apologizing. Apologizing, coming out publicly to show the world, because we are the so we support, the royal family. We know the great it has done, the good values for the communities that the royal family has done. And this young man going away with his wife in a way that they did on those campaigns did not only hurt, okay, the royal family in ways, but also everybody like ourselves who for long believed that the royal family was a force for good. So, and this is where things are going to be very tricky with King Charles handling Prince Harry. He is the father of Harry, but he is also the king, the monarchy, whatever of the Commonwealth. He has to serve country first. Okay, listen to the country first, to the Commonwealth first before the fatherhood thing kicks in. Okay, so it's not going to be as easy as, oh, come on, come in. Let's go and get you
No.
rehabilitated. Sit down there and have a cake, nice cup of tea. Oh, how have you been? How is business out there? Don't worry, everything will be okay. Not a chance. He should handle this case with a firm hand. It should be Prince Harry's responsibility first and foremost before those gates are opened, for him to issue a public apology and say to people, listen, I was led on this path. I was never meant to go into these projects that I have been going in. Only then should people then start to, okay, come to terms with his rehabilitation process going on. within the royal family. Okay, now he seems not to see that, because as always you hear, oh, it's them that are not allowing for these talks to take place, or they are supposed to be apologizing to us. So clearly you can see a young man who still thinks they did him the wrong instead of him. He still thinks it was the royal family that wronged them, constantly calling for that apology on behalf of his wife. They must apologize to Meghan. You know, for what? For what? For Christ's sake. Okay. And then, and then, these stories that came about of him trying to go through his friends, whatever, to try and, they called it Operation Back into the Royal Fold, to try and get back into the royal family. And who is better positioned to bring themselves back in the royal fold than Harry himself? He needs to take ownership of this process. And the only way that ownership will occur is through apologizing, taking those actionable steps that we can all see from the outside, that this young man is actually starting to change for the better. Okay.
Look, the thing is, I spoke to a lot of people, and I literally did, because there were people hanging around, etc., etc., before the events, and there's no love lost for Harry. I did speak to one young woman. She would have been mid to early 40s, mid 30s to early 40s. She was all in on them, and she said, "Oh, no one wants to see a marriage breakdown." It's true. Look, I don't believe they've been together for at least a year. I think they've been living semi-detached lives for, quite a while now. It's all sparked up at the time that the king is away traveling. All of
Mm,
these rumors, and someone did say when I put up a post about um, Spare coming out the paperback in the same month. Look, these are marquee events. These Chockham has been in the calendar. The publisher knew when to put that out there. Harry would may not have had a say in it, but it was put out there when the King was on tour. And
mm,
I am not buying it, that because I'm surprised that there hasn't been more attention paid to that. These marquee events, it's like remembrance, it's like Christmas, it's like Easter, the tripping of the colour. They are in the calendar, bang. They and then everything works around that. And sure, he hasn't put anything new in, but he didn't need to, because it's just all trash, and it
mm,
doesn't really give any indication into who Harry really is, except he's a really weak man and he's got a poor character. But this is what Australians, I was so surprised, because I'm talking to people who went to their tour.
mm, mm,
I'm soliciting, opinions from people. I'm not making this up.
mm,
I'm not, you know, I'm fanciful. I can, be a bit camp, whatever, but I'm not lying about this. People
mm,
went to their tour. They
mm,
said the tour was fantastic.
mm,
They actually spoke up well about them on the tour. But
mm,
since then, and I spoke to another woman a bit younger than myself, she was as angry as I am. And then in the end, she said, "Oh, I've got to let this go. This is not good for me." She said,
mm,
"But the way they treated our queen, and this is an Australian, our queen."
That
And
is very,
yep.
very unforgivable, very unforgivable. And they just need to do, I don't know. I think even when they apologize, people will never forget the way they've treated their family, the queen, and that trust will never be restored. And I don't think Harry will ever come back in any capacity within the royal fold that people will be able to trust him. Um, so we've had, now this story has been trending quite a bit about the property they've bought in Portugal, and we Eugenie and her husband, is it Bruce Bank? They have a property in Portugal as well. Now, sources have started claiming that Harry is moving closer to Eugenie in Portugal in that property is as a way of trying to go through Eugenie to come back into the royal fold. Start using Eugenie as the vehicle for reconciliation, because apparently Eugenie somewhere somehow had this forged relationship with Catherine, Princess of Wales, the other day when they attended the Buckingham garden party. The last one they attended, Eugenie was part of that party, and that they sort of struck some kind of relationship with Catherine, Princess of Wales. So Harry's thinking is that moving closer to Eugenie in Portugal, where they've bought that property, is going to aid him to start that process of, sending those messages to Eugenie, but also his family and the kids, Archie and Lilibet, will be playing with the kids of Eugenie, and they start those little family connections, and build from that, coming back into the royal fold. So again, these are narratives that are out there right now, and I still think again that will not work until Harry himself makes that public announcement and says, I'm very sorry, we are very sorry, including his wife, Meghan Markle. Okay?
Look,
Including his wife.
I'm with you. I agree with you. And, it's like a cheating husband. The first thing you do is grovel. You just
Mm,
grovel and you let everyone know you're groveling. And you grovel within an inch of your life until you see your wife beginning to thaw out. And then you let her lead the way. You don't push your way in after violation of trust and betrayal that runs so deep. And Harry, the thing is, Harry, is he in rehab? We haven't seen him. If he was in rehab, they would be announcing it. They would say, "Oh, he's put himself into rehab." I mean, I'm not overstating this. He put this in his own book. He spoke about how LSD. He spoke to that Gabor Mate, who regretted that interview, and he went offline for months after that interview with Harry, and he regretted it. He went on and he said he regretted it because his profession lambasted him for publicly in the public space diagnosing him with ADHD, which Harry didn't seem he
mm,
rebuffed it.
mm,
But he spoke about using LSD in his therapy sessions, and it
mm.
helped him in his therapy sessions. This is all out there thanks to him in the public domain. So, what am I saying here? He, you know what? He needs to. Is he back? Is he in rehab? I reckon if he were in rehab, he's nowhere to be found at the moment. They would be
Yeah.
announcing it. The royal family would be putting it out there.
Oh, they
They
would
would
be,
they would
yeah.
they would be putting it out there. Oh, he's a changed man. He's gone into rehab. We're hearing nada, nothing.
No, he's probably still there because the king has been out, to Australia, to Samoa, so they are keeping their heads down because they know, coming out, of course, they are going to be told off for trying to steal the show, to try and overshadow. So they are probably keeping their heads down. But again, in a tricky way, they released the paperback version of Spare on the 22nd. Was it on 22nd in the United States and on the 24th elsewhere? So right in
Yes.
the middle of the
Yeah.
King's
Yeah.
tour. So that was again, I'm not saying that they planned it, they did it intentionally, but come on, they could still have done better, because
Yeah.
but they still went ahead and released that book. And what do we know is written in that book? All of those things about his father, the monarchy, and you can't release that, or bring back into people's memories right at this time when the king is touring Australia. Very, very important tour. And so that's why people are saying constantly, will Meghan ever learn from their mistakes? Will they ever think before they act? Okay. And if really Prince Harry wanted a reconciliation or coming back into the royal fold for him and his wife, he shouldn't have been pushing through those projects. That paperback book should have been done and dusted. It shouldn't have been republished because nothing changed in that book. Whatever was published in the other copy is still what turned up in that paperback version. So we can we are right to say that he's still pushing his agenda forward, and then can we really, really see a man who is changing anytime
No,
soon?
I
No
don't.
chance.
And
No
and I'm
chance.
actually empathetic. I'm not without empathy for the man. I have it there, but I don't see anything. I see nothing.
Is your sound dropped again, Catherine?
No, it's
Okay, so it's
fine.
back in.
Yeah.
It's fine. Yes, yeah.
I see nothing from Harry. It's all from everyone else. And this is the mistake. I think that, like the mafioso, they always say it's better to have your enemy close than far. And I see some logic in that. But this is so personal for the royal family, and I think it's unfair of the king. And I love the king. I've come around, but I think it would be unfair of the king to leave this mess for William, and William then to come out the bad guy and Daddy to be the good guy. That's playing bad cop, good cop, and I don't think that's going to work because the Australians have seen the king in the flesh. He's not a well man.
Mm,
Camilla is not well. She
mm,
was really spaced out when we saw her, and a lot of people commented on it. You saw the king when they got to the end of the Opera House steps. She went this way, he went that way, he looked back, and you saw a lot of that through the tour. And we saw it. He just looking, making sure she's okay. She is not a well woman. She is sicker than we know.
mm,
And so why will Australians come around to this Harry being rehabilitated? They won't, because they see the king came out here, paused his treatment, went hard at it, event after event after event, walkabout here, walkabout there, sausage sizzle here, taking the salute there in the sun, in the heat.
mm,
Australians will. I know the public have a short memory, but it will be at least a decade before um, Harry will be brought back in from the cold with Australians. That's my
mm,
view, and
mm,
I just feel it really strongly because I heard it from the crowd. I heard it, and I felt the wave of affection when they saw him. I felt the wave. It was like a festival,
mm.
a rock festival.
Very, very, very sad for Harry and Meghan because Australia really loved them so much when they visited, and they had so much hope in them being a force for good, in winning over the young people, and really helping the Queen extend that legacy that she had created. But see how they become the stumbling block. Like, see how they become the problem in in
Mm-hmm.
pushing this good legacy forward. And I think this is for many Australians something that is very, very perturbing. And I don't think Meghan and Harry will ever be welcomed back in Australia
No,
in the way they were
no.
welcomed when they first visited.
Mm-mm.
But the
And
king. Mm, mm,
Americans have no time for them for that very reason as well,
mm,
because of
mm,
the way they've treated their family. When you listen to American audiences or American content creators or American commentators on, various channels, it all comes down to what they did to their families. She dumped her father. She could have had her father's brother lead her down the aisle, give her away. She didn't.
Hmm.
And he dumped his family. They've dumped everyone. And Americans are not taken in by it. Americans, they're not. And Australians, even more so. We saw the king in the flesh, very, very frail. And do you know he should be in the Guinness Book of Records, in my opinion?
For actually taking that courage to come in this situation is in right now. That treatment is not a simple treatment. It is very draining, extremely difficult. We haven't seen very many people at that age of
No.
the king look well with that sort of treatment like the king looks today. So he is a very strong man, but even stronger for him to have taken on that 24 hours. It's not even 24 hours, it's more than
I
24
know.
hours of flying to Australia, plus the rigorous engagements. Was he doing up to 10 engagements, six, seven,
Yep.
eight, 10 engagements
Yep.
every day?
Hmm.
That man and Queen are very, very strong. Now, King Charles is 75, 74 ish, 5.
I think he's
Camilla is
75 and Camilla is
75,
76.
77, 76, 77. So
Yeah.
you can see that the age bracket they are in, for many people, they would have said, okay, 10 engagements, no, maybe I'll do 4 or 3, but also more so with the treatment, because you're adding on the treatment that the king is receiving. Okay. But for him to have done that means that he has so much love and compassion for communities. And he's very much walking in the footsteps of his mother, because the
Yeah.
queen
Yeah.
the queen served to death, didn't she? She welcomed her last prime minister, Liz Truss, and 2 days later she sort of said bye bye to us. Okay. So you can see that spirit of hard work that is continuing through his son, King Charles. And King Charles himself has been very, very hardworking. He had to serve under the heir to the throne for how many years? 73 years. That's the longest, the longest heir to the throne, you know, King Charles. And
I know. It's
and
astonishing.
yeah, and while he was doing the waiting to become the monarch, he was working so hard through the Prince Trust. That trust is still one of the best established charity establishment in the world. It is supporting communities beyond borders, and young, old, women, children know what the Prince Trust is, and that is all King Charles's energies. So, to be fair, the man has worked so hard, and I see where people are now starting to sympathize with him, to love him, to forget his mistakes, and just support him through his reign, because he's worked so hard to clean up his image over the years.
Mm. Mm.
And it's very painful to see that his son, who should be supporting him in the way that William is doing, has chosen to go against the establishment at the very time his father, who has been waiting for 73 years, has sat on the throne, and he decides to just go against him and write all that nonsense in his book, with one real reason: try and bring down this reign that this his father has been working so hard to carry forward. And so
Well,
this is
the way he
why.
spoke about his father, you don't do that. You don't do. You may have arguments with your dad, right? Private and keep it zipped. He publicly went on about his dad doing exercises, and his feet, he's in his boxer shorts. You know what that reminded me of? Passage in the book of Genesis where the two daughters went into Noah's camp when he'd had a bit to drink and they uncovered their father. I thought, that's what you've done, Harry. You've just, you don't talk about your father in his boxer shorts publicly. You just don't do it. It's
That
like beggars
very,
belief.
very private conversations being put on the display. I tell you what Prince Harry should have written in his book Spare. He should have talked about how grateful he is
Yeah.
as a young man to have been raised in such a prominent, well respected family, and how he has been able, because of that, to gain the platform to contribute to so many changes in the world, supporting the wounded soldiers, children through the Well Child Awards, all of those patronages that he was given or put in charge. That is what he should have been talking about in his book Spare. He should have been talking about his service, military experience, and how those have given him the confidence and the intelligence, the knowledge that he is thriving on today. Because we know he didn't go to university, he didn't achieve any grades in school. All of his education, courses, skills were imparted to him through the military. So he should have been able to speak about all of that in his book Spare. He didn't do that. He should have been talking about the relationship with his brother that has made them what they are today. Growing up, having these little cheeky fights amongst brothers, as would happen with families, and how his brothers helped him to grow into a man who is going to be very respectful, and the introduction of Catherine into the family that became a force for good for the three of them. And how Catherine again continued on that journey of becoming the sister that Prince Harry had never seen or heard. Those are the sort of things that should have been in Spare. And if he had done that, that book would have been 4, 5, 6 times more successful than it is today.
Oh, well said, Francis. Well
Okay.
said. Yeah.
But clearly, he was on a different mission. Clearly, it is easy to say that the company he had, this young woman who came into his who crossed paths with him and took him up, carried him across to Canada first, United States, could have played a role in how Prince Harry came across in that book. Because let's face it, if you have a wife or you marry a beautiful woman who is very, very interested in seeing you grow, become
Mm.
more successful, and more caring, family like man, she wouldn't have allowed Prince Harry to go on this mission of writing all of those things in that book. He should have said, right, listen, this family of yours, is what has made you what you are today. She would have at least done something, but none of that was done. They go ahead and publish this. And we see these Oprah Winfrey interviews, which were more like supportive activities to back up whatever was going to come up in Spare. And why can't we then believe that that Prince Harry's wife had a hand in the way Harry came across in that book? Okay, so very, very sad, very, very sad of him to have done that, the path he took, because I still think they had a potential of making a big difference had they stayed and remained calm, loyal to the monarch. Mm.
Well, this you've said this yourself. It's such a simple rule, if you choose a partner well, you'll do well. But he chose badly. He married in haste. There was no need to. He didn't need to rush it. I do believe, according to some royal commentators and authors, that um, the palace really didn't expect Harry to hang around. They thought he would leave royal life and seek something else. And I really believe Harry's shown himself. He's exposed himself as vindictive. And he could have left, and he could have even had like a semi royal role, not half in, half out, but where they could have called him in if they needed him or something, low key, But he didn't. And I believe he married Meghan, like Tina Brown famously said recently. Oh my God, she really let him have it. When she said, he was enamored with Meghan, he believed that she was some Hollywood power, power broker, and that she was going to make things happen. And I believe he thought he could use Meghan as a weapon against the royal family, and he could break bad. If you're going to break bad, I thought you broke bad when you were a teenager, not
Exactly.
not in your 30s. If you're going to break bad, he just did everything so badly.
Mm,
And we've seen him. This was a common refrain from people I spoke to during the royal visit. They said, "Well, they said part of the disappointment is we believed he was a nice guy."
mm.
That's actually, when you've trusted someone, like I had an incident with someone I thought, I knew we were going to have our stoushes, but I didn't think it was going to be the way it ended up. And I
Mm.
thought, oh my God, I was so deceived by you. And I think people feel, oh, we really like this guy, but who deceived us? Was it Harry that deceived us? Was it the royal family that deceived
You
us
see,
by,
yeah.
putting this cardboard cutout of Harry in front of us? That's what people are disappointed in. People feel
Mm,
he's so nasty,
mm,
and they was like they came together, they saw each other, yeah, they recognized each other, and they went for it. And I that's why I would like to see Harry get clean. I would like to see Harry make something out of his life, go and do some courses or something, It's some college courses. By that I mean lower tier courses,
yeah.
up your skills, but I can't see it because where's the apology? Francis, you say this all the time. It can't happen until he apologizes. Where
It
is it?
can't. It can't. It needs to table that apology. There needs to be a process, a pre-planned process in place, and the world should know about this. Okay. We need to tune in like we tune in into Sky News. It needs to be a breaking news story. Prince Harry apologizes to the royal family. That needs to be a breaking news story. We need to see that happen, and only until that happens shall we start to carefully consider what next for this man. Okay. And I think many people will then start sympathizing with him. Many people will start to think, okay, right, so we can now start to talk about rehabilitation programs in place, safe spaces where he can go and rehabilitate. But until that happens, no chance. I don't see that.
No. And he needs to apologize to the British public, not just the royal family. That's a
Mm.
big deal. That's starters, but the public they're approaching this with caution because they know how good the royal family, the palace are at these snow jobs, these peer, you know, clean up campaigns. They clean themselves up. They're very good at it, and the royal family are approaching the British public and the Australian public. I'm speaking for the Australian public. We're very acquainted. We know, we see you, royal family. We're not going to be easily snowed under this time because Harry needs to apologise to the public.
He needs to, because left, right, center, there were so
Left,
many
right, centre.
people.
Love it.
Yes, there were so many people who were wronged, looking at how reactions in the papers, in articles, in people's people's perceptions about Spare tells a big story of how people are not happy with him. So the Catherine Princess of Wales being dragged into their wars in a way that they positioned her in Spare as somebody, one of the royals who said these racist remarks. So you
Mm.
can see that his book attacked everyone in there in so many different ways. So it isn't going to be as easy as here I am, I'm back now, and me start from where I left. No, that okay.
No,
So
because I don't think I don't wish to be a Debbie Downer or a negative Nancy. Pull out all of the puns. I really don't, but I don't think he can be trusted.
mhm. that
I
trust
don't think he can
has
be
since
trusted.
gone. The trust has since gone. But at least let him make that move. And then we know he apologized. This young man was in a very different space when he did these things. So we are going to appreciate him as the way he is. But he won't be trusted with any meaningful projects within the royal household. Okay? So it would be a case of seeing him as how people are seeing Prince Andrew parading around the royal lodge and you know, at
He
that
really,
level.
yeah,
Yes.
he is. In my view, he can be on the outer,
Yeah.
like Andrew. That's as close as he gets.
Yeah.
I don't believe they can bring him any closer. That really, he really is out there in the category with Prince Andrew, and that's pretty low.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Very, very low. But look at how their behavior has damaged their reputation in everything that they are doing. Yeah. Ashwell Foundation, that foundation is just what it is today. No meaningful donors, it's being questioned. It has issues it's fighting behind the scenes as we read every day with not turning up in the right way. With those returns, tax returns, uh, donors not very forthcoming, the
Mm,
questions of where the money is going. The other day they failed to account for the 4 millions. So you see those
mm,
scrutinies that are being put, that are being sort of directed to them, all because of what they are, and the trust that has been lost. And when you are scrutinized, or you're always talked about in public negatively, peoples, including authorities, are going to start scrutinizing every business that you're going to be setting your hands on. This is what we are seeing with them right now, because the public has since sort of washed their hands to a point that even when they do something that would ideally be the best thing somebody can do for the community, people are looking at it with second
mm,
thoughts. Is that genuine anyway? Is that even real, or this is again another pretext of
exactly.
pretense? Look at Meghan Markle starting her Instagram account to launch her, what is that? Is it Riviera, American Riviera Orchard? So she
Yeah,
starts
yeah.
the Instagram. She amassed over how many? 600,000 K followers with no single product on there. She hasn't put anything on there. Why? Because there is no sense of direction, fear of launching out full swing, because she knows, will this be criticized? How are people going to react to this? Uh,
Mm,
and then you are also looking
mm,
at the wars she's fighting with, trying to apply for, what did she apply for? Trademarks.
yeah,
Those
yeah.
trademarks were not granted. So you can see that things are pretty tight in every corner. They are being scrutinized. Whatever they do is not
Mm.
coming out as it should have been. And a lot of the time, that happens simply because there are so many things that you have done that haven't quite sat well with so many people there that are leading to this lack of yours to be blocked in every sense. Okay. And then look at their inability to take help, seek guidance, seek help, wanting to think that they are always, they know better, they can do better on their own, and how that has costed them in the long run with every project they are doing. Because what are they doing? They're turning up haphazardly. They are not performing in the way they should have. Archwell Foundation sacking directors after directors, others leaving because of the toxic environment. So there is a lot of bad things happening.
Mm.
All of these things should not have happened had these two stayed loyal to the monarchy here. Okay, because they would have had what they call the blessing. Okay.
Mm.
Look at how William and Catherine are flying high, with the Royal Foundation for the Prince and Princess of Wales. They already registered a trademark in the United States allegedly, so that's all already smooth. Things are smooth going. Donors and funders and support, huge fan base for the Prince and Princess of Wales in the United States, saying, please come and operate here, come and feed into the society with your
Mm.
great mental health campaigns. Prince Harry, Meghan Markle have got Better Up, which is a similar organization doing mental health campaigns in the US. Okay. But that isn't working out as well. Why? Because of the record. Okay. So we've lost Catherine here. Let's try and pull her back.
Yeah.
The system kicked you
I
out,
love that.
Catherine.
Let's try and pull her back. Pull her back from the edge. Yeah, but you're right. That's a good point you bring about Better Up. But Better Up, if you look at a lot of their employee reviews, they're not a good place to work.
Mm-hmm.
They just don't have good reviews. They really have dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens. Just keep
Yeah.
going down the line. It's like, they really, this is the kind of people that Harry associates with. People who don't have good reputation. William's got good judgment.
Exactly, exactly. And there is this saying, I think Paul said it, Paul Donman somewhere, this jealousy uh, the Harriers and Megans have over William and Kate. And
Yes.
that is only going to even become worse when William and Catherine start operating in the United States
Mm.
in the health and the field of mental health. Okay. And they are going to be literally burning inside to see how Catherine and William are going to be flying with these, associations and supportive duties, the roles they'll be carrying out with American charities in that field, where Meghan and Harry have not been able to break through yet, despite being there, living there,
Mm.
establishing themselves there for the past 4 or 5 years. Okay, but why are we talking about that? We are saying that to show people how being blessed, how William and Catherine and their loyalty to the crown has enabled them to do greater things without caution, without scrutiny, because people have
Yes.
the trust.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So that trust has been lost already for Meghan and Harry, and there is going to be a lot of struggle for them to break through in almost. And I think that is why we are starting to see the shift of buying property in Portugal, because probably they are now starting to think, okay, America has now sort of washed its hands off us. I don't think we can thrive here. Let's have a change of environment. And maybe being closer here in Europe, of course, is also going to probably help them to try and be closer to the royal family here so they can um, sort of mirror the activities of William and Catherine in some way, because where they are in the US is quite far, that
Mm.
sometimes they haven't been able to keep close tabs on. you know.
Do you think that on the subject of Portugal, do you think Meghan will relocate to Portugal? Do you think she'll live there?
Or she will have to, especially as she knows that without Harry she can't survive. We have seen that, when Harry's been away, where he went for all those weeks, and how she clearly struggled, and how her projects stalled somehow. She's done those solo engagements, but those have also not picked up in the way she would have
Hmm.
wanted. And
Okay.
we, and we read in the papers recently with them starting to have a change of plan, because, right, okay, initially they thought, okay, let us go separate ways professionally. Each one of us step out solo so we can shoot too many birds with one stone. Okay. But that has apparently that isn't working out properly, because Megan effect is not felt with any of those solo engagements. She hasn't connected with people the way she thought she would have. So the only way for her to still carry on in any way meaningful is to get back to the double engagements with husband Harry. So if she wants to still stay relevant, she has to fight so hard to remain entangled with her husband wherever he goes. Okay.
Mm, mm. Yeah, she's really. This is why I don't believe there'll ever be divorce. I believe they'll just live separate lives and, have an open marriage. I believe, she's really screwed herself. Do you know what amused me at the time, because I wasn't falling for it, was a headline. You read regularly when she first came into the royal family. Oh, she's the smartest person in the room, blah, 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 blah. She's a really intelligent woman. I never believed that. I believe she was as cunning. There's a saying in Australia, as cunning as a poop house rat.
Mm-hmm.
I just believe she was cunning. She was cunning. I never believed she was smart, because if she was smart, she'd have played a different hand.
Oh, she would have played it differently. She would have
Mm.
used her knowledge,
Yeah,
from the university where she claims she got the degree,
yeah,
effectively to serve in the royal family and allow herself to grow into this
yeah.
respectful woman. But clearly she didn't. And so she wasn't clever at all. She thought maybe get this title, run away, go make lots and lots and lots of money with it outside. No, baby, that's not how things work. That title only benefits you when you're inside. The moment you decide to go and get on those campaigns in the way that you did, you are on people's radar.
Mm, mm,
Okay.
mm.
So she wasn't clever enough. And I think she threw away the best opportunity one can have to make an impact in the world.
I
So
think that's why
many,
she's despised to the extent that she is. People look at her and go, "Look, you were nobody. You were
exactly,
you were
yeah,
nothing. You're a D-list actress, and you got this
exactly.
opportunity, and you threw it back in everyone's face."
Exactly, and she will never get one like that, because they say opportunities don't come once,
No.
but there are opportunities that will come once. There are opportunities. When you apply for jobs and
Yep.
they call you for an interview here and you don't go because you don't feel it, and you say another job will come round, and then another one comes and just about to apply for it and you say, no, I don't feel it. let it go, another will come around. And then there is a job that comes, and it is your rightful job, to a point that if you don't apply for it and it goes, it might take you ages to get that
Mm,
same
mm,
job. So this is
mm.
what this Meghan Markle issue and marrying into the royal family is. She got in there and she let go in a way that she did. And whether she thought that that title was going to do great for her out there, that was a big miscalculation, but an opportunity missed. And
Yeah.
she, because there is just the one royal family, and she will never get any other chance like that.
Apart from that, the British royals, they're the premier royal family. They are it. You know, there are other royal families throughout Europe. Some of them are dying out. We've got our own princess, well, Queen Mary now, and this was it. It was the royal family. It wasn't a royal family. It was
Mm-hmm.
the royal family,
Right. Yes,
the British royal
your
family.
family. Yeah.
It was the number one numero uno. What? Oh, what an idiot! Like, what sort? This woman's got. There's nothing between the ears. She's totally self-obsessed, and when you're like that, you can't see anything except yourself. So, like, it's just disgraceful, really, what she's done. She's an embarrassment to herself. And please, there's one thing that really grinds my gears is when she starts talking about feminism. Honey, you haven't got a clue. You haven't got a clue what feminism is. It's all about you, like, oh, stop it, Catherine. Stop it. Interrupt me, Francis.
And no, you're right. I agree with you. So when you get to listen to most of her speeches, interesting, because sometimes I want to pay attention, very close attention to
Yeah.
what she says. And I want to listen. So she reads through this speech. And then it so happens that she has a way of going round and round and round the same thing and finishes that speech without saying anything. She's been talking all the way through. Okay, and you're like, God, is this another sort of politician who are just masquerading behind the scenes? So it is what it is with her, and I think Harry fell for it. He's already in there. They've already become what they are. So they've made this bed. They're gonna lie in it forever.
Well,
And
it's complicated by the children. It's all, Harry's never going to be able to escape because his life is complicated
so
by these children that are in the line of succession, which everyone, well, oh, Frances has disappeared now. Frances has disappeared. Do you think she's going to have to go back to being a white woman again? Oh, Lisa. Oh, that's funny. That's really funny. Do you think she'll go back to being a white woman again? And while we're waiting for Francis, I'll go through some of the comments here. Paul, whatever happened to Meet Me at the Lake that Harry and Meghan supposedly bought? Then it turned out to be Netflix who bought the rights. Also, remember the Dior major deal that never was. Oh, look, she's got this Dior bag and she's got her initials sort of, imprinted on the leather. It's so crass. It's so vulgar. Um, Lisa H, only if it is lucrative to do so. And Chantal, everyone, you have been associated yourselves with or being named in the Diddy saga. I actually think this is the thing that's going. Sorry, my dear friends, network dropped off. Oh no, he's gone. Queen Elizabeth was a feminist, yes. She was my kind of feminist because although I'm thrilled with the wins that the royal family gave us with um, not the royal family, feminists gave us with the vote. And here he is, he's back, girls. She is my kind of feminist because she does it by works. She is who she is, and she doesn't scream about it. She doesn't burn her bra. God help us. We don't want to do that. No, thank you. We need our bras. But I believe Queen Elizabeth was the quintessential feminist because she was feminine, she was powerful, she did it without screaming from the rooftops. She was wonderful, wonderful, wonderful role model. Just keep going, Catherine Chantel. Uh, because we can see it's still live. It's just that Francis is having trouble. He probably needs to reconnect himself to some power. Her Majesty was an example for women to aspire to in many ways. I'll tell you something. I'm 70. I'm nearly there, just, not far away from it now. So I'm in my 70th year. And I saw the Queen as a fine example of aging with grace and dignity. She didn't try to hussy fussy herself up. She just aged. And the older she got, the more beautiful she became. She just like radiated this inner beauty. And I think part of that is peace with yourself. When you're at peace with yourself, uh, you then begin to radiate a beauty. I can hear his keyboard going now. We just don't have visuals. I can hear Francis's keyboard. Yeah, he's talking to us. Aussie, 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 oi, oi, oi. I agree. We'll take over Francis Page Media's live, us Aussies. We'll move him, cast him aside. No, don't go anywhere, Francis. See what's happening when he's not here. We need you, Francis. Hi, dear friends. I'm sorting out my signal. It should be back in 2 minutes. I believe so too. Yeah, look, TC says something really important here. Little people know when they've done something wrong, when they've stopped kicking and screaming. Then you ask, why did I do that? Look, I've done that. I've made some real big mistakes, huge. And why did I make them? Here is his back, girls. He's back.
Apologies. I'm trying to
Welcome
sort
back.
out this. I'm trying to sort out this signal here. Can you hear me properly?
I can hear you. Look, you were in dangerous waters there because the captain of the ship was not on deck and there was a mutiny was about to take place. I was going to take over. I was going to appoint
So,
myself as the new captain.
so carry on, Catherine. Let me set the signal out behind the scenes, and I should be with you in a second. Okay? So
I
I
love
can hear
that.
you.
Free
Yeah.
speech. I didn't realize free speech was in Australia. Um, yeah, there is a lot to talk about. There is a lot to talk about. I I've got so many mixed feelings about this story, though, about Harry being rehabilitated for return, which is why we're not seeing him. And as I said, Andrew Loney said on another channel that he believes that he will be welcomed back into the royal family, and it's causing quite a stir. I have reservations about Harry being rehabilitated. I really do, because if he was in for rehabilitation, he would be apologising. Francis always talks about this. He believes that the foundation to him, to a royal rehabilitation, is falling on his sword, falling at his father's feet, and kissing his father's feet, wiping them with his tears. That's it. That's where it begins. It begins there. And until Harry can do that, and that's why we're not seeing him saying, "Oh, I'm in rehabilitation. I'm in a rehab. I'm off on a farm and I don't want to come back to royal family until I've sorted myself out." That's the best way to go. Play hard to get, Harry. Stop being so needy. You want everyone else to do the hard work for you. It's not going to happen. Aspie. Aspie, I saw Aspie. People here in the US, okay, so Aspie's in the US, they're wondering if Trump is elected, if Harry will be forced to leave, minus Meghan. On a different note, to support the royal family, the UK royal shop had great Christmas gifts. Oh, yes. Apparently, his visa case has opened up again. That's actually the truth. And this is why he's, running off to Portugal because there are tax breaks, I believe, in Portugal. Eugenie's there, but there is talk that Eugenie is going back home. So they're being brought in by the York branch of the royal family into Portugal. But uh, I think that this visa thing, once Trump takes office, and it looks like he's going to, what that looks like remains to be seen after the vote next week. But Harry's visa case has been reopened. It's reopened. It's not going away. So I don't think we're going to see him back in America if Trump is elected. That's it. He's gone. He's gone. So, Francis, darling, where have you gone?
I'm
I just,
here to,
I
I'm
don't want.
here just,
I'm sick of hearing the sound of my own voice, darling. Come
I'm here.
back. Us
I'm,
girls are missing you.
I'm here, nearly done.
I tried the mutiny. Now I'm trying the poor me
Yeah,
girl victim
yeah.
routine.
So,
Like you
that's,
girls really believe that. Okay, he's back. He's back.
yeah, yeah. Thank you so much for driving this, dialogue forward. You really, really awesome, Catherine. And I should appreciate you actually for always taking your time to show up on these live streams. And the A team here, where would we be without our
Where
great
would we be
friends?
without you
Yeah.
girls?
Oh God, they are very
And boys.
knowledgeable and they're just so ahead of the game. And
Yeah.
they've mastered this Harry and Meghan's tricks and the little businesses they do, and they've refused to buy into those concepts, just like every single one of us here. But that
Giselle
is
makes a
great.
really
Uh,
important point. Look
mm,
at this. I hope Charles, good. I hope Charles realizes his wonderful welcome to Australia was in large part due to people supporting him in his stance towards the Harkles. That's a very good point, Giselle.
mm,
I,
mm,
I I think
mm.
the royal family will hurt themselves if they try to rehabilitate him outside his own efforts.
They will, because at the moment, um, the public are always happy with not seeing these two appear anywhere near to the royals. The best news here is when publications go out that Harry and Meghan are not invited to the King's birthday parade. That is great news. Great news to many people. Another story that is welcomed hugely is when they say Harry and Meghan will not appear at the balcony at the Trooping of the Colour alongside other royals. That is another big story people like to read, because anything that suggests Meghan and Harry are not welcome to this event, to that event where all other senior royals are going to be, will always sit well with the public. What does that tell us? It tells us that for long the public have washed their hands off these two people. Now, there is a story, this little story, I didn't share it with you, but you could have seen that little interview, Catherine, because I remember you were following up on this story back then. So I was walking on the streets of Buckingham Palace, King's birthday parade. The streets were being lined up, and I was sort of interviewing revelers what they think about the king, Catherine's return, because Catherine hadn't been seen in public for such a long time, and she was going to make an appearance on the king's Trooping of the Colour ceremony. So I was asking people just to get a feel of where they were sitting in that moment in time. And I happened to ask this question to one of the ladies. How do you feel about Meghan and Harry not being in attendance of this ceremony? Do you know what she said to me? She said, "You shouldn't even talk about them. Don't even mention their name." I said, "Shh."
Stedman
Yeah,
said something to
yeah,
me very
in,
similar to that on one of my
in,
posts. I
Mm.
think she was a bit irritated I brought up about Harry and I get it. I actually get
Yeah.
it. The only one who's talking about it is you. And
Yeah.
I just giggled at that because, yeah, I mean, but, they won't go away.
Yes, yeah. So they won't go away. Their courage is going to be part of these conversations in that way. And so this lady said, shh, just in case people nearby heard you talk about them, because we don't want even their
Yes.
name to sound on a big occasion like this.
Oh,
And you
how
see how
beautiful.
these ceremonies, exactly, you see how these ceremonies swing past very smoothly without even thinking about Meghan and Harry, and so the family, royal family, has since moved on.
It's an
Since
astute
moved on.
observation.
Exactly,
Mm.
and you don't actually look and say, "Oh, somebody is missing." Yeah, you don't even remember them because people have just simply gone past them. Which is a shame, very, very big shame, because they would have made a big impact. It would have been nice to see them playing a supportive role. We see Prince William riding on the horse, and you see this side we see Princess Royal Anne, and the other side we see uh, Prince Edward. Okay, so they're riding on the horses, and you could imagine if Harry was still in the royal family's good books, he would be somewhere as well riding, and what a beautiful image and scene that would have been. But he allowed himself to take that path, and see how he misses out on all these cakes and cups of teas and wonderful after parties. And can you imagine on
Well, that's
the,
right. I think that
yeah,
he could have, when you look, I've never come out for a royal tour. I mean, I followed it. I used to read about it when I was a little girl, and but when you see it firsthand, you can see, oh yeah, you can see
mm,
what he gave up. You can
mm,
see this is what he gave up. And
mm,
that's what struck me, especially at the church. I know that they were on the Opera House steps, and some people have said that the King and Camilla wore the same colours and did the Opera House steps coming down. Like, I don't think so. I don't know. I mean, I don't think that I don't think they'd be that churlish.
mm,
But
mm,
this is what I thought. I thought this is what Harry and Meghan gave up. How could you have
mm.
given this up? Like, how could you have given it up? Like, I don't understand it.
I can't, because can you imagine looking one spitting image I always look at and start reflecting on how bad these two have put them in very terrible situations is when uh, Harry walked alone to Westminster Abbey for the coronation ceremony. Because Meghan stayed
Yeah.
back, so it was Harry who came alone on
Mm.
this day. And so you see him walking alone in the corridors to go and identify his seat somewhere. And I was like, how nice it would have been to see him walk with his wife, you
I
know,
know.
because you see William and Catherine had walked in, the pair of them with their children. How nice it would have been to see Harry and his wife walking with their children and sit there. How beautiful that would have been. But it
Oh, it
was
looked,
Harry, very
it's
lonely, cutting
wonderful.
this very lonely walk across the floor, and everybody turning and looking at him with pity. And you're like, what has this man got himself to? Very, very sad. Very sad.
Oh, it's
Mm,
shocking. It's actually quite shocking. And I think, and I'm not trying to be dramatic. I actually think his fall has been shocking. And
mm,
it's all been by his own hand because I'm not buying into, and I won't be buying into any narrative that, oh, he was captured by this woman. No, you are an enabler. And the CEO that re, resigned from, from their staff before their Colombia tour, he said, um, the Hollywood Reporter reported that she's a dictator and he's lovely, he's very charming, but he's an
Mm,
enabler. He
mm,
enabled her. He enabled her. Every Jezebel needs an Ahab, but Ahab allowed it. And
mm,
Ahab got away. He was always pouting. He was always being bratty. And, Jezebel would clean up after him. No, I'll never buy into it that he's become a prisoner, but he said
mm.
yes to it.
He said to it, yes, and also he is still not realizing
Mm,
that that although we know how rebellious he was in there, we know the sort of man he was, but this character he got involved with made matters worse with
yep.
him. And I think she sort of resurrected that little demon in him and took him on this path that he went. And the funny thing is still is him not still realizing that that is the bigger problem, still not realizing that his wife, the royal family did nothing to his wife. Okay.
No.
And he's going on and on and on about they must apologize to my wife. They treated my wife in the way they did. I took away my wife because I never wanted a repeat of my mother. To imagine that Harry would think that of his family is very is very sad, isn't it? That
Oh,
the royal family would treat his wife like they
tragic.
treated his mother. That's very tragic. Somebody else can say that, but for Harry to say that was very, very demoralizing, isn't it?
Well,
And this
he's
is
got no
one.
self-awareness. He has no
Mm,
self-awareness. So at no point did he sit in that interview, did we see him go, oh, actually, I think maybe I need to rethink this, That would have been a powerful interview. That would have
mm,
been a
mm,
huge interview if he'd have had second thoughts in the middle of the interview and backed up a bit. Everyone would have tuned in for that.
hmm. And he needs to also look at some of these interviews his wife gives, because
Yes.
there is a lot of inconsistencies in those interviews. So the first interview, for example, this had never been aired anywhere apart from recently when CB News decided to air part of it. So they asked Meghan Markle, so you knew that you were going through this mental health phase and these thoughts you had in yourself of wanting to, you know, and you didn't tell your husband about it. And she goes and says, I didn't want to tell him because I wasn't sure of how he was going to react.
Ugh.
So she says that. But previously, she said, I didn't want to tell him, and this was in another interview. I didn't want to tell him because it would remind him of the terrible things his mother had gone through. Okay? So you can see those inconsistencies in, in Meghan Markle's interviews and the things she says, very telling of a character that is just problematic, just literally problematic and can't be trusted. But Harry is
Yeah.
still not seeing all of those things. We don't know what it
No.
is that this woman did to her. It's more to Harry. It's more like she got, this little cloth and somebody ties it on your eyes like this, and you
Mm,
can't see
mm.
nothing. Blindfolded, you can't see nothing.
Well, Tina Brown hit the nail on the head when she said, he was just enthralled by her. He believed
Mm.
what he believed that she was who she said she was and that she could change his life. And oh, good, he could have had any woman, but he chose that. He could have had
Yes.
any woman.
But anyway, we are just about to end this live stream. The phone
Oh,
is going man
okay.
down.
Oh,
The
oh,
phone is
thank you for
going.
having me, Francis. Thank you
The
very
phone
much.
is going man down. The battery. But we can always do this again. We can
Yeah.
sit here and talk
Okay.
about these stories. But this lovely audience we have here, Catherine, please again, I kindly request you to shout out your channel, Catherine.
Oh,
Please.
a royal iota,
Yes.
or a Roy Leota.
Yes.
Some people call it Roy Leota, AROYLIOTA. And um, I'm going to do a live at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Thursdays, but I'll put it up on my. I'm going to, but it'll
Please.
be about 15 minutes max, and I'll just do that checking in and looking at the issue of the day. So because everything is a different audience, shorts are a different audience, videos, then lives. So we're just going to hit it all, girls. We're going to hit all
Mm.
our markers. We're just going to do this.
Yes, yes. And
Thank you, Francis.
we are so grateful for the support, kindness we have here. And your channel is growing, Catherine, growing steady fast.
Oh, it's
Congratulations.
thanks to your A team. They're
And
fabulous.
you know what? You did exactly what you promised us, to be there at the venue to just show us the situation with King Charles's arrival and Camilla's arrival. And you traveled across to just go and be there on time. We really appreciate that, Catherine. Once again,
I don't
allow me,
know.
thank you. Yeah, you
I
did
don't
so
know. I
well.
don't know how I
Mm.
did it, but it was with your encouragement, the encouragement of the A team. I thought, oh, I don't. I was sweating, but we did it, and I got that shot. In fact, I think I might put it in a frame. I got the shot of the king. He looked at me and he waved, and he allowed,
Yeah.
and I threw my flags down on the floor and took the shot. Oh, I
Yes, you
got it, and
did.
it's a
And
good
you
photo.
put a big C there. In
Yeah,
the
no
big
one's
C, they
getting it.
showed
No
no
one
one. So
is
that's
getting it.
yours. You owned it. You really did. And obviously, I know that you appeared on the interviews as well, speaking about the whole event, the situation. That interview is going to sit in the news archives for years
Uh,
and years. So
and
you
they're
made
on the
history there.
videos, girls. If you haven't seen them,
Yes.
they're actually they're not in the shorts. They're in the videos. If you want to go
Yes.
back and have a look. Oh,
So
it's so
you
much
made
fun.
history. Yeah.
I brought it home, Francis.
Oh, you did. So thank you so much for
Uh,
living, for exceeding our expectations. You really did.
well, it goes both ways. Thank you.
Yes, yes.
All right. Well,
And
I'll
and
say
and
goodbye to your A
and
team. Oh, go on.
before you say goodbye as well,
Sorry.
should we briefly, 1 minute, talk about how Camilla looked on the day?
Oh,
Because you were very close. You were about 5 meters away,
yeah.
7 meters
She
away
was
from Camilla.
actually.
Talk to
It
us about
was.
Camilla.
I
Mm.
reached because I was at the barrier. This is at the Opera House, and so I called out, and my pals were, Camilla, Charles, Camilla, and I went, no, 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 Your Majesties, and
Uh-huh.
Charles wasn't coming in our direction; he was going that way. But when I called out Your Majesties, they
Mm-hmm.
came across because
Mm.
that's what they like. She was going to do our side, but starting further down. But she
Mm.
came up and she shook my hand. She shook
Mm-hmm.
Annabelle and Linton's hand, and I was this close to her.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mm-hmm.
looked at her. She looked, I think it's possibly tiredness, but I was
Mm.
so taken by her beauty. She's so pretty. I
I've,
could
I've,
see what saw in her as a young woman.
and at 77 to
Yeah,
look like that.
so pretty. She's had no work, and
Mm.
they're her teeth. She's had no, she's probably had lots of beauty treatments. Who hasn't, But
Mm. Mm.
this woman is all natural. This is her. This
Mm.
is Camilla. very pretty. And I thought, wow, I saw what Charles saw in you. You know, because
Oh,
Diana was so striking. She
hmm,
was the runway model, Diana,
hmm, hmm.
but
But this
that
is
kind of,
quiet beauty. You look at it, and she wore the right outfits for the occasion.
she
She
did
was
so pretty.
glowing. Yes,
Yeah.
especially that video when they visited the school and they brought this little crown to her and the flowers
Yes.
and the
Yes.
necklace, and she was sat there, and then you could see she's a beautiful woman at
Oh,
77. I
she
think
is.
very
Yeah.
befitting of King Charles. And
And look, I went back and looked at some professional portraits of Camilla because she has great hat game. She just,
hmm,
oh, I wish I could wear hats like that. She's amazing.
she
But
is the
she,
true definition of resilience because
but
she's
those
really for.
portraits, they do
Hmm.
not do her justice. Because I'm not joking. I was because I went in. I actually
Yes.
went in to give her a chance to shake my hand. And I saw her face to face, and she's so pretty. And it's the real deal.
Hmm. That brings us to the end of our live stream. Thank you so much, Catherine,
Thanks,
ever
girls.
so
Thanks,
much.
guys.
And please
Yeah,
don't forget to highlight your upcoming live stream so we can tune in on the day and
I
make
will.
it a bit longer, about at least a half an hour or an hour, please,
Oh,
because
yeah. Okay. Well, I
we
don't want
enjoy
to go.
listening to you.
Oh, stop. Stop it. Stop it some more. All right. Cheers, sweetie
Right.
darlings. Thank you, AT.
Okay,
Thank you,
then
Francis.
from us here, everybody have a fantastic rest of the week, and we catch up again very soon with the next
Yes,
edition of Royal News Live here at Francis Page Media.
Francis Page Media.
Yeah, yeah,
Bye,
yes.
everyone.
Bye bye, everyone. Bye. Bye. Bye,